They just assumed the chocolate flavor's in the beer, but they also made it sound like they were going to bring us some chocolates.
From Russell Stovers, I'm in.
You're milk chocolate. You'll be set.
Yeah.
Do you like a dark chocolate or do you just...
I'll do a dark chocolate, but who doesn't like some milk chocolate as well, you know?
I was just checking. I didn't know what your qualifications are. You know, just which one you prefer, that's all.
Yeah.
Good.
Jake Eisenberg going to join us in a half hour as well. They are in Chicago now as the Royals get set to take on the White Sox for the weekend. I think it was a late arrival in Chicago yesterday, but Jake's going to join us here in about 30 minutes or so. We'll talk to him about the Royals series win against the Cardinals. That's where we're going to actually start the show today, as a matter of fact, where the offense for at least one series came alive. And this is the hope that whether it was the lineup tweak, whether it was just even Caglione while his numbers aren't there, the fact that you're worried about him, you're making pitching changes you would not have made maybe to address that and how that might have affected the series a little bit. But most notably, they're hitting with runners in scoring position. Vinny Pasquantino is looking more like the guy that we saw last year drive in nearly 100 runs prior to his injury. He's 7 for his last 17 with runners in scoring position. And they needed every bit of those runs. They needed every bit of it because we all know Cole Reagans just did not have it yesterday. I don't know what's going on. We can have a deeper conversation about him.
Yeah, probably need to talk about Cole.
And then, of course, just the way the whole series played out. Both teams were putting up runs. And that 3-game stretch in St. Louis was the best offensive stretch of the season.
Yeah, this is the only 3-game stretch in which they've scored 5 or more runs in every game. So, I understand people are frustrated because they look at that game, one of the series, and I'm still a little confused, I'll be honest, about all the hate Q gets. I guess they think that a manager should be getting them to 110 wins, and if anybody else was managing this team, they'd be doing it. So I don't want to get into the Q stuff because it doesn't make any sense to me, I think, high level of criticism he is getting versus you're probably just not used to this is how analytically based managers manage baseball games. And I would say to this point, relatively successfully based on the number of wins they've gotten. But yeah, this is the most offense we have seen for the most consecutive number of days we have seen all season long. That's taken out. We can talk about Cags in a minute. Cags, who only has 1 hit in his first, 13 plate appearances or whatever it is. So it's not like he's putting up individual numbers that are huge. But Vinny remains white hot. Now he's hitting with runners in scoring position on top of just hitting for average. India's coming around. Salvi had a doubleheader again because apparently doubleheaders are his thing. Bobby put a ball out of the park. You know, you can start seeing some of the stuff that you're like, yeah, those are the things we're looking for. That's how they get to 5, 7, 10 runs 2 days ago when we were there on Tuesday. So I came out of that series feeling great. It was on the road. Cardinals had a better record than you. You took the series, and a lot of your stars started to hit. The only thing people, and if I don't even know if anyone's worried about it yet, were a little down on is that Cags had 1 hit, and I'll be honest, don't care. I don't care that he only has 1 hit through 13 games. That means nothing for the level of success he will have as a major league player.
No, haven't you noticed the 3 games decides everybody's career in any sport? The first 3 games you have, it tells us right away what you're going to be. No, I don't take that stuff seriously.
That kind of stuff.
I don't take it seriously at this point. I think any reasonable sports fan and semi-knowledgeable sports fan understands that when you have 3 baseball games and 2 of them were in 1 day of the 3, it doesn't tell you anything yet. Let's see what he does this weekend. Let's see what he does the next couple of weeks, frankly. But yeah, I mean, everybody would be more enjoying the debut if he would have had 5 or 6 hits in his first 13. Sure, of course. If he was hitting 500, we'd all would be going crazy at that point in time. But yeah, anybody changing their opinion one way or the other about Jack Caglione based off 3 games, that's just like, I can't take you all that seriously yet. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
I completely agree. Can I point out just one stat that should just make if you just happen to be, and I think it's the minority right now, which is actually a pleasant surprise to me. I was a little fearful that it was going to be the majority. But let me just give you one stat so you can feel better about where they are, and it's the Bobby Witt Jr. beginning of his career. Bobby Witt Jr., who do we all agree? Bobby Witt Jr. is a superstar. He's one of the best players in the sport. Everyone's thrilled that he's here. Runner-up for MVP last year, might be runner-up for MVP again this year to Aaron Judge. His first 20 at-bats, Gold, he had 2 hits. 2. So if Jack Caglione manages a singular hit in his next 7 plate appearances, he will have been off to just as hot of a start as Bobby. So it's just like, come on. He hit 100 for his first 4 or 5 games, too. It's not that important that it's on that stretch. And I'd say yesterday, the second game of the doubleheader, was by far his worst of the 3 games because he was kind of lost and striking out and clearly looked frustrated by the time that third strikeout hit and that final at bat of the game yesterday. But those first 2 games, he's putting the ball in play left and right, making hard contact, all the stuff that you would expect out of a good hitter.
Yeah, and weeks from now or a month from now, these conversations, if he's still struggling, will be way different. But I don't even know if you can even call it struggling. 3 games is not enough to have any sort of evaluation of anybody. Someone said if Bobby went 1 for 13, we'd be talking about it. Again, Cody just gave you the stat. Bobby Wood Jr. started his career 2 for 20. So I don't know. Like I don't know what the point would be with that overall. Also, yeah, I'm going to talk about a player that's been in the big leagues for 3 or 4 years having a bad stretch more than a guy that's played in 3 games for his entire career.
Yeah, if you're paying attention to 3 games, terrible energy and just a really terrible way to look at it. I think that this comes from I think Kansas City goes through its eras, certainly. I will tell you, some of this comes from like a football mindset trying to take it to baseball. Gold. If a guy, and look, I'm a little quicker to write people off in football, as you know, you and I have kind of gone back and forth on that. This would be like if his first 8 games as an NFL player, Xavier Worthy had 112 yards, and you're like, whew, does he just stink? Is that just it? Because that's the equivalency, right? And he's not even played half his season, but it's like first 4 games, he had 76 yards, and you're just trying to write the guy off. In football, a lot of times you are expected to contribute right away and be good. Baseball, 2 for 20 stretches probably happen, I don't know, 30, and he's not 2 for 20, he's 1 for 13. 1 for 13 stretches happen in baseball, I don't know, 10 times a season for every player, even the superstar ones. Like, I can go look up a 1 for 13 stretch for Aaron Judge this year if it'd make you feel better. But, like, there's no reason to worry about it. It's 13 at-bats. Look, if he goes 1 for his first 40, we can come on the show and we can have a real conversation about whether or not he is ready for that role. But I'm not worried about that. And somebody said on the text line, when they put him when they left him in to start the second game, even against the lefty, they're trying to make sure he's kind of like Vinny. They want to see if they can play him every day. Like, can he be an everyday player no matter who the starter is on the other side? And that would be the inevitable goal with him. So they have a lot of faith in him. Nice rundown and right, by the way, for the
I think
first test he got.
The one thing, though, we're going to see, and people were upset that they pulled him for a defensive replacement late in the game. If you were listening to the show a week or so ago, we had J.J. Cooper from Baseball America on. We had Jim Callis from MLB Pipeline on. And they both had mentioned that, especially early in his career, and therefore early in this season for him at least, they are going to be making late game defensive substitutions for him. And I understand in the first game yesterday that when he got pulled from the game, the Royals were up a run heading into the bottom of the 8th. Ultimately, we know the Cardinals took the lead. Then the Royals tied it. The game goes to extra innings, and so Kaggs was not batting in the 10th inning. Instead, it was Mark Hanna. And that goes back to what you were saying. They're going to do the same formula every time. It doesn't mean it works every single time. But those games yesterday will not be the last time you see Caglione get pulled for a defensive adjustment in the 8th or 9th inning of a baseball game. That's going to happen quite a bit here early on because they would like someone to give them better than average right field play in those spots. It backfired in that regard.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say a lot of what this like kind of comes down to offensively is pretending like people aren't allowed to have bad outings. Like Cole Reagans isn't allowed to have a bad outing. Taylor Clark, who up to the point before he gave up the Herrera home run that was absolutely smoked, he had pitched nearly perfect right to that stage. But, like, are we just going to pretend like in that game that the bigger reason why they lost was probably because Bobby Witt Jr. muffed that ball at second base? Like, that was the bigger problem in that game, truthfully. And then Bobby Witt Jr. the very next day did what he does, or very next game, did what he normally does, Gold. Made a catch that I think one, maybe, other player in all of Major League Baseball could make. Did you see the slow motion version of that catch from Bobby Witt Jr.? My goodness. That is objectively a good series. And now you just got to hope that they go kick the teeth into the Chicago White Sox. Are the White Sox playing any better, by the way? I've not looked.
They just beat the Tigers a day ago or something like that. I'm not sure, man. I don't really follow the Chicago White Sox. They suck. I don't follow them. The White Sox stink.
Dang.
I mean,
they stink. Why would I be following the White Sox?
They might have new ownership, but they do stink.
I mean, in the future, they might have an owner now that wants to spend some money and put together a winning organization by 2029. But no, they're 20-43. I guess the Chicago White Sox are. And last time out, the Tigers lost to the White Sox. That looks like the White Sox maybe split the series with the Tigers recently.
And this is the challenge, like that comes with any of these decisions. Like from the 6-6-0, this was one of the biggest complaints from the ones that they just had. pulled Noah Cameron too early. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that decision from Matt Cotrero, if that's your complaint overall about what the Royals did. First, my general rule of thumb on this is you better have been saying that at the time. I do not allow for you say that after the runs get scored off of the bullpen, because then it's kind of rich, right? So that's fine. Let's just presume. I don't know text line. Let's just say you did this. What's funny about this is where opinions vary. Gold, at the time, and even after, I actually thought it was the right decision. I don't want to put Noah Cameron, a rookie pitcher in only his 5th start, who a majority of his starts have only been at 80 pitches or so, back in through 2, 3, 4 of the lineup, 3rd time through the order. Statistics tell us that is a dangerous, dangerous spot to put a starting pitcher in. So I probably wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have blamed a manager if they said we were going to leave him out for another inning. It's fine. But I don't think that that's just like an automatic decision. Noah Cameron stays in no matter what. I actually think there's some room for argument on that one.
Yeah, I think this is just what being a baseball fan is, though. There's 160 games, 162 games, and you magnify games more than they should be magnified on a daily basis.
Sure.
And so each decision, like managers get too much credit when it works, and they get criticized too much when things backfire on them. But the decision-making process of Noah Cameron, I know that was the thing that everybody was stuck on yesterday. I mean, I went out to dinner last night, and literally the waiter, who I've gone there before, so like he was like, "What? Why did they pull Noah Cameron?" Like that was, I'm not even kidding. That was the number
Before
one.
you even asked for a drink?
Well, I mean, I ordered, but that was the number one topic, and that's not why they lost game one. I know, like I know we want, everybody. Bobby Wood Jr. is an incredible baseball player. They lost game one because Bobby Wood Jr. made a terrible defensive mistake. It happens. But that's why they lost game one, not because Noah Cameron was pulled. And in the bullpen that in the game before had gone 6 scoreless, that game wasn't good. Then in the night game, the bullpen, I believe, was 6 scoreless again. Steven Cruz and Angel Zerpa were incredible. So it's a daily thing, literally 2 games yesterday, but you could see the difference between one game to the next in the bullpen. The decisions were, I'm sure you guys, the decisions were great in game 2, right? Because it worked. Mm-hmm. And I know it's a result-driven business, but the only thing I'll say is, and it's a Friday, should be a good day. We're off.
Just won a series. Very negative start.
The text line is really negative to start off on a Friday. I'm very confused. I'm very, very confused by what is.
They just won a series.
Like someone says,
Summer.
Carlos Estevez. Someone says Estevez is a bigger problem. I don't feel comfortable. He leads the American League in saves for a team that's only 3 games above 500 or whatever it is.
But he blew 1 save, so it's over.
I just Are we? Is this what we're doing today? We're just gonna like bitch and moan the whole time. That's what we're doing on a Friday.
And look, again, his stats are so good that there's just no way to know. But it's just history suggests that it is a very, very, very bad idea to choose to pitch a guy a 3rd time through the order in the middle of the lineup before, especially for a rookie. Can I point out that I guess this is the part with it, and you're right. It does feel like we're off to a negative start, and this is the question I have for you guys as it relates to, because I was stunned at the amount of negative energy towards Q and the manager stuff last night because I didn't really see it. Look, I thought they should have lost the first game when they were down 7-2. They should have won the second game. They ended up reversing those, and they should have won the third one. They should have won 2 out of 3 this weekend. They did it. The manager before was the feels guy. That was dumb. That was the guy who's like, just do what I want. Numbers don't mean anything and stats don't matter. And he just goes based off veteran leadership or nonsense like that. Now you got the guy who bases it off of the numbers, and you don't want that either. What do you want? What do you want in a Royals manager? The perfect blend? Terry Francona, he changes pitchers at the drop of a hat. So, what is it exactly that we're looking for out of these management decisions? Because I think we're pretending like every management decision should be perfect, Gold. And what we said is sometimes you make the right decision and it goes poorly. Sometimes you make the wrong decision and it goes well. You're just playing the numbers that over the course of time, you will make the right decisions by correctly choosing the same statistical solution every time and then kind of going with it. And the manager before went to the playoffs 0 times and won and lost all of his games pretty much the entire time. And so, this manager has at least made it to the postseason. So I'm having a hard time doing it. Also, I felt coming out of the series, I was feeling great. Got the series against the Cardinals, win a homer, Vinny's hot. Cag's got the biggest concern. Offensive scoring runs.
I think my biggest concern, and we can talk about it more later and ask Jake Eisenberg in 15 minutes. My biggest concern is the Cole Reagans, right? What is going on there? Is he
I'm very worried about that.
That's to me the conversation. Like, what are you most concerned about after the series? Is Cole Reagans came back from the IL, and we all saw what happened. The fastball was not there. That one was 92, just right down the middle for, I think it was Arenado that launched that ball to left field.
Yeah, it was.
What's up with that? He's had a groin injury twice. Is it just not fully recovered? What else?
His arm strength.
What's going on there? That to me is a bigger concern, bigger picture for this season than I guess hindsight being 2020 on a potential decision that may have happened in one of the games. But they did win the series, believe it or not, against the St. Louis Cardinals, and now they head to Chicago. And they set up, look, we all know where Chicago's at. This is a team that last year they dominated. It's a team that so far this year they've had a good success against. They have 9 games left, including 3 this weekend against.
I'd like them to win
against the White Sox.
7 of those 9.
But this weekend, if they can win the series, obviously you all want to sweep, but win the series, can Cags get going a little bit, and then you get off Monday and you come back Tuesday, and it's a home debut against the Yankees at Kauffman Stadium. They got a chance to have some momentum here as they get back to Kauffman Stadium and see where they're at. But I do the Cole Reagans aspect is what I think is really concerning right now with the team and of everything. Like truly, right? Like right this second, I'm not worried about Cags' start. The offense hopefully now has some signs of life. I definitely am not worried about Carlos Estevez. My goodness, he leads the American League, as I said, in saves. Angel Zerpa had his best outing, maybe one of his best outings of his career. And what Steven Cruz provided. Like, there's a lot of positives out of that series, despite the frustration that, you get greedy and you think you should have swept them. But we also know Monday night in Game 1, the Royals, we all probably thought that was an L. So baseball has a weird way of balancing itself out a little bit.
Man, I was just looking up. I can't believe somebody said they were worried about Estevez. He leads baseball in saves, baseball gold, and he has a 1.95 ERA. Is there something you and I are missing on Estevez? Like, the real concerns over Cole Reagans, I'm not even here to argue with. I mean, there are some signs that point to some trouble there, but I was like, wait, am I crazy? Let's talk Chiefs for a minute. You know what? I got to get back.
I don't like the text line start today. What's going on? What's going on, people? Come on.
It's just too much. It's too much. Let's take a quick break. Let's talk about the Chiefs for just a minute, because their special teams coordinator, Dave Tobe, was talking about punt returns the other day. And normally I'd be like, well, why the hell would you guys talk about punt returns?
On June 6th.
On June 6th. Huh. Well, that's because he mentioned Xavier Worthy as a possible option. He mentioned what Nico Remigio had done. He had mentioned Smith and Royals as all possible options. But specifically, it seems like the rumor mill in the streets is that Worthy might be their best available option to do that. The question is the juice worth the squeeze on that? Like, I got to be honest. Are we risking Xavier Worthy health over punt returns in year 2? Now, his targets are likely to go down in a lot of ways per game because Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown, and if these guys are healthy, there is only one football kind of thing, so maybe you just want his athleticism anywhere.
I think the reward is worth it, though, in that spot.
I'm a little nervous about it.
Yeah, I think the reward is worth that. He's not your number 1 wide receiver. I know we saw last year down the stretch, of course he was, due to injury and all that. But going into this season, I think if we're being honest, suspension potentially there for Rice, but put that aside for a second. Rashee Rice is the number 1 wide receiver for this team. We all agree, right? Heading into the season, everybody agrees with that. So if this was a situation where Xavier Worthy was clearly the number 1 wide receiver, then I'd be with you.
Monster,
if you tell me in August that we find out that Rice is out the first 6 games and Worthy then is bumped up to 1, then Worthy will not be returning punts. I can almost guarantee you he would not be doing that. But if Worthy and Brown and Rice are all good to go in that particular game, I got no problem with Worthy returning punts. I think it's worth the risk, I guess, if you think there's risk there. The reward to me is too great.
We all watch quite a bit of football. Can you think of anybody as big as Xavier Worthy who's still out here returning punts? Who returns punts for the Bengals, Drew? I mean, I honestly don't know. This isn't meant to be a knock. I don't know.
I mean, how do you know
Jamar
if
Chase.
I can tell you necessarily? I mean, it's
it's not T. Higgins.
They had a mix of guys last year. No, it's not Jamar Chase. It's not T. Higgins. They had Trent Irwin last year. They had Charlie Jones last year do it. They had it was a mix of guys. Chase Brown was back there at some point. It was a mix of guys.
Yeah, like
I mean, how big is Xavier Worthy? Like, what do you mean big? Like profile, or do you mean like tall?
No,
because you said size. I think.
No, not size. Just like his ability and how much he plays. I just don't want him.
I think for the same reason of, hey, they need to take more deep shots down the field to get the ball in the playmaker's hands. I think this is a chance for him to naturally get the ball with the playmaking ability he has. I mean,
Okay,
he's used to punt returning. He did it at Texas. He's got the home run capability. I think that you don't unleash a new aspect of your offense, but him being able to take a punt 35 yards just at the drop of a hat because he's shifty and has got the speed helps an offense that struggled at times last year anyways to, put points on. Like you give yourself an extra opportunity to make something special happen, I guess.
Nobody else puts their wide receiver at risk like that. Maybe in a handful of situations, right? Like when they used to pinch hit Tyreek eventually, and he would just come in the
but Worthy's not your number one wide receiver.
Moment. I understand, but I'm looking at the guys.
It doesn't have to be a guy that's fifth on the depth chart to return kicks for you.
For the most part, it is, though. I'm looking at it. So, last year, here are the biggest names guys who regularly return punts. Not return 5 or 6, but return regularly. Marvin Mims, Khalif Raymond.
Marvin Mims was what? Wide receiver 2?
And then, I got to be honest.
Yeah, Mims was 2 last year.
Zacchaeus.
Oh, Zacchaeus.
He was wide receiver 3 with
and
Atlanta.
Calvin Austin, he was probably wide receiver 3 for the Steelers last year.
You're saying you'd rather have Jalen Royals return punts than Xavier Worthy.
And it keeps Royals in the game for the times he's not in the snaps. Worthy doesn't have to keep his head in the game, right? Royals is hey, we're keeping you active. Sometimes we're going to call you in to catch some passes. Not going to be very often in the early going. You're pretty far down on the depth chart right now. Let's keep you engaged. Let's keep you active. And, the most successful punt returners last year were not the best athletes on the team who happened to return punts. And am I going to lose it if Dave Toub decides he's his starting punt returner? No, that's probably not worth it. But it's the most successful punt returners in the league last year are dudes you've never heard of, based on just average punt return distance.
I thought that
Josh Blackwell, I guess Rashid Shaheed was third best. I've heard of him, obviously. Marcus Jones for the Patriots, Braxton Berrios.
I thought
you
Nico,
can be a just dude and be good at punt returns.
I thought Nico did good enough last year that he could single-handedly reserve a spot on the roster because of his punt return ability and even in kick returns, what he showed at times last year.
I think we got to remember, too, this is Dave Toub in June talking about the different people that are in the mix, and there's no reason to narrow it down at this point in time. I think Worthy will get some reps. Ultimately, do I think he'll end up being the guy with the most punt returns for the Chiefs next year? No, I do not. I do not. But do I think he'll be back there, and would I have an issue with it? Not at all. I think some of it's going to be determined by where the Rice suspension is Hollywood Brown healthy? Because, then you're really pushing it. Otherwise, Royals, to me, as a shot. And Drew, I agree with you. Remigio, I thought, showed some signs of life there. And if he's going to be your 5th or 6th receiver and make the team, we know you got to play special teams, not just on coverage. But in his case, he could be more valuable returning some of those punts as well. So I think this is more of a training camp. Hey, let's see how many guys are getting reps at that, and then it narrows itself down as we get towards the end of camp in St. Joe. But right now, it doesn't hurt to have 4 or 5 guys mixed in there, and Worthy definitely could present some challenges if you're an opponent.
To your point, though, Cody, if he, let's say, again, you don't want this to happen, but let's say Xavier Worthy happened to, strain a hamstring or twist an ankle while doing the punt return stuff, your point would be valid in the fact, hey, if he misses time because he twisted an ankle on a punt return, I'd rather him twist an ankle running a route or getting tackled
I just think pitch
than
hit.
Punt returning.
If they want to have him return 1 punt, Tank Dell returned 7 punts last year. They want him to come out and return 1 every 2 games when it's late in the third quarter, right before half, and you're trying to be the only way we're getting in scoring position if this is a 25-yard return, fine, go nuts. If you think he's good for the job, he should not be the full-time guy. I need him for snaps that are more important than that. In my mind, he's the number 2 wide receiver on this team last year. I'm sure that's everyone's thought, and has a chance to be second in this team in receiving yardage, or first, depending on what you said, the Rashee Rice stuff. But to your point, if Rashee Rice really does miss 4 to 6 games, Worthy won't be anywhere near a punt return for at least that stretch of time.
All right, up next, let's talk some more Royals baseball. Jake Eisenberg, they are in Chicago. He'll be broadcasting this weekend. You'll hear it on 96.5 The Fan. We'll ask Jake about what he saw in St. Louis, about Cags, obviously, and what does he think is going on with Cole Reagans, perhaps. That's up next here on Cody and Gold.
Watch Cody and Gold on YouTube by subscribing to the 96.5 YouTube channel. Cody and Gold is brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From executive producer Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
All right, everybody listen up. We starting our own label.
The Hit Stars original series BMF returns.
The music game could put us up on Connects.
Welcome to the 1995 Social Wars.
This is how we do it.
Don't miss the explosive return of BMF.
I'm calling the shots now. I'm the face of this organization. You always gonna be in my shadow.
Season premiere Friday, June 6th. Only on Stars and the Stars app.
Exercising and being outside are two things I love doing almost every day. I can't imagine joint pain slowing me down. The good news is, if you do have joint pain, I've got the answer for you. QC Kinetics has over 50,000 satisfied patients in less than a decade, and everyone is getting results with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime at all. QC Kinetics has been on the cutting edge of regenerative medicine. They use natural treatments that harness your body's own healing power. Regenerative medicine used to be an alternative, and now it's mainstream. So if you love being outside and working out as much as I do, or you just love to play golf or tennis or doing everyday activities, and you don't want to live with that joint pain any longer, call my friends over at QC Kinetics. Don't let sore knees or elbows or shoulders or a back keep you from doing the things you love. Call QC Kinetics today, 816-412-6299, 816-412-6299. Off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. It's QC Kinetics.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or on third-party delivery platforms.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
David is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years, and I'm from Flowery Branch, Georgia. When I first started taking Prevagen, I noticed stuff just seemed to come together and fit like a jigsaw puzzle. When I have customers come in, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription. And I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I know it works. I wouldn't recommend something like Prevagen if I didn't think it was worth it, because it works so good for me. And I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really works so good. Makes my day.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery.
so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins.
Join the millions of people who are celebrating going hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you just step into and they're on.
It's crazy how something as simple as a pair of shoes have made my life better.
After trying Skechers Slip-ins, I want all my shoes to have this technology.
See what everybody can't stop talking about. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Brought to you by MVP. Only $39 for an AC tune-up. Book now at themvpkc.com. MVP Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric is your home's MVP this spring and summer. Get a summer AC tune-up for just $39 and avoid costly repairs. 913-214-1212 or visit themvpkc.com. MVP. One call does it all.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Coming up in about 12 minutes, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers finally making a decision. He's going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What? No way.
It's going to happen. All the rumors for a while.
I can't believe it.
Actually going to happen on June 6th. And he'll report to minicamp. We'll get into that in just a little bit. What does that mean for the AFC North? What does it mean for the Steelers? Does it actually change their win total at all for the upcoming season?
One game, bro.
That's coming up in just a bit. But let's go out to Chicago. That's where the Royals are going to begin a series tonight against the White Sox, fresh off a series win in St. Louis. We welcome in Jake Eisenberg. You heard him, I believe, on FanDuel yesterday, but of course you always hear him on 96.5 The Fan as well. Jake, I don't know, what did you guys land at, like 2 or 3 in the morning yesterday? How you feeling?
No, thankfully it was a little bit earlier than that.
Okay.
It's not a very long flight from St. Louis to Chicago, so we didn't get in at too late an hour. It was good.
Solid. Well, the road trip ended up in St. Louis turning out well. I know we were joking to begin our show. You know, the text line was a little negative about how things transpired, but they get 2 or 3 there in St. Louis, and people are focused on, you know, that first game of that doubleheader. I guess, thank goodness, game 2 actually happened, and that one counts just as much as the first one.
Yeah, and look, game 1 of the doubleheader, that's a loss that's going to sting. You know, you take a 3-0 lead into the 7th. Noah Cameron pitches the way that he has been pitching. That's one that you feel like you should win and hope you do win, and ultimately it comes down to the extra inning place runner, which I happen to like the place runner. I'm okay with it, but I understand why it's a frustrating thing. But yeah, game 2, you scored 7 runs in the first 5 innings and hit a couple of homers. And I'll be honest, that was my big takeaway from the series was mostly the offense, the fact that they scored more than 5 runs in 3 straight games. But within that, the fact that they homered in all 3 games and had multiple homers in 2 of the 3 games, that's not something that we've seen from the Royals offense this season. And that was a really welcome sight.
Let's talk a little bit about Noah Cameron first, because I do want to get to the offense and what they did. Bobby Witt Jr. in particular had a couple of real flashy moments in that series, including that defensive play. But Noah Cameron, like, I understand it's not sustainable he's going to have a 0.5 ERA the rest of the year. But what are the things that you hear around the organization? What are the coaches saying that, like, will last or can last or has staying power about it? Because when you start tossing in the names of only guy to do it other than Fernando Valenzuela, it obviously stands out.
I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy what he's done. And the fact that, yeah, Fernando Mania is like the only thing that we have to compare this to. The main words that I keep hearing when we talk about Noah Cameron are composure and poise. And that's incredibly obvious when you watch him pitch. He doesn't seem rattled at all. Not that he should be rattled, but, you know, even his big league debut, you know, down in Tampa, when he was taking a no-hitter into the 7th inning, it looked like every other Tuesday. You know, he was getting the ball back. He does not waste very much time. He pitches with such a great rhythm and such great timing that I think the poise and composure are the things. I mean, it seems as though those are the things that usually pitchers develop over the course of 3, 4, 5 years to become a veteran. We see that, you know, I think with Seth Lugo a good amount. He's been doing it for a long time, but he's got that rhythm and he's got that composure where, you know, the next pitch seems just the same as the last pitch. Or if it's a really big pitch, you know, in the 7th inning, you can't really tell based on his demeanor on the mound. And with Noah Cameron, it's kind of the same way. And that's the thing that doesn't ever flow. That stays the same no matter what's going on.
We're talking to Jake Eisenberg here on 96.5 The Fan. You mentioned what stood out to you was that offense. What do you attribute it to? Is it just some of the players that you need to count on are starting to get in a groove a little bit? Vinny, as you pointed out on the broadcast a few times, 7 of 17 now with runners in scoring position. Is it just even Cag's presence to a certain extent that everybody else feels less pressure and nobody's talking about them? They're all talking about Cags. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any one answer. I think it's a number of things. I think, sure, Jack Caglione getting called up definitely, injects some energy. Bobby Witt Jr. said as much, post-game on Tuesday, and so did a lot of the other guys in the clubhouse post-game on Tuesday. But also, I think, maybe you look at the lineup shuffle a little bit, moving Michael Garcia up to the 3-hole. You have, your action players in the top third, as J.J. Piccolo put it, and you have your run producers in that middle third. And the bottom of the lineup has done a great job at getting on base to the top of the lineup, whether it was Kyle Isbell, who had a couple of hits in the series, or Freddie Fermin, who hit that bomb of a home run in Game 2 yesterday. You're seeing a bit of a deeper lineup, and Jack Caglione is certainly part of that. I think it's also, you're seeing guys that you count on, like Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez, start to produce with runners in scoring position the way that we know they can. I mean, the thing that I've been looking at is kind of what's happened recently with runners in scoring position. I think sometimes we can get a little bit lost when we look at the season totals for any particular player, like, oh, this guy's batting 200 or this guy's batting, 270. I'm a little bit more curious sometimes on what has happened in the most recent games, what's happened most immediately. And when you look at what the Royals have done the last 2 series now with runners in scoring position, so you go back to the beginning of the series against the Tigers, I'll give you some batting averages with runners in scoring position. Since the beginning of the series against the Tigers, Vinny Pasquantino, 417. Salvador Perez, 346. Jonathan India, 308. Kyle Isbell, 400. Michael Garcia, 300. Nick Lofton, 333. These are smaller sample sizes, obviously, but these are guys that are producing runs the way that you expect them to be producing runs, and certainly expected them to be producing runs at the beginning of the season. And they're all starting to click at the same time, which is everything that we hoped would happen, right?
This might not be a conversation that you've had yet, Jake, with people internally, but I'm now kind of curious because you mentioned Nick Lofton. Is there some sense of why every single guy who's coming up, look, I'm not claiming they're all superstars, but Drew Waters, Nick Lofton, and I'm trying to forget which one I'm forgetting about. But
Rave?
Oh, no, not Rave. And maybe one other guy. The guys who struggled the last time they came up, having a better run this time around, right? They've become productive. Or Kyle Isbell's more what I'm thinking of. He didn't get sent down, but seemingly he's having a more productive season. You get a sense of why those guys are just being more like the everyday big leaguers who can fill in situationally in these big spots are doing a better job this time around?
Yeah, I think the answer is simply time, and development takes time, and not every single player is going to come to the big leagues and hit the ground running, whether they're a first-round pick or a third-round pick or a second-round pick, and that was just Lofton, Isbell, and Waters, their respective draft positions. I also think that these guys now having spent a little bit of time in the big leagues, Waters, a lot in 2023, Lofton a good amount last year, Isbell's, of course, been a big leaguer for 4 or 5 years now. I think they have a much stronger sense of self, a much stronger sense of the kinds of players that they are, and also where their opportunities are going to come at the big league level where, think about, your jobs every day. You feel when you have a new job and you are in a performance-based business, you feel a pressure to succeed every day, and you feel a pressure to do the thing and prove to everybody that you can continue doing the thing. And I'm not saying that that's something that manifests every single day, but I think that we all find ourselves to be a little bit more successful when we take a step back and realize, okay, here are the things that I'm really good at. These are the things that got me here. These are the things that are going to help me stay here. And I think we're seeing with Kyle Isbell, he knows the kind of player that he is. Nick Lofton, he knows the kind of player that he is. Drew Waters, he knows the kind of player that he is. And I realize that's a little bit vague, but we're seeing, I think, particularly with Waters and Lofton, guys who have had a little bit less experience than Isbell, they've realized that, home run hitting is not necessarily what they're going to be most successful at. Spraying line drives, running the bases really well, making both the routine plays and the exceptional plays defensively are things that are going to help elevate this team. And, talking to Nick Lofton in particular, he said multiple times that, if he hits 100 doubles in a year, that's a great season. If he hits 100 doubles and 0 home runs, that's great. He's trying to hit doubles every single time. And if the ball happens to go out, it happens to go out. And it happened to go out on Tuesday. That's a really good sign. And I think it's the same for Waters, and I think it's the same for Isbell, who I think might be one of the most underrated players if not in the division, in the game this year, the way he's playing defensively and what he's done offensively too. I think Isbell's putting together a terrific season so far.
So I think it would be foolish after just 2 days of baseball and 3 games to have a rush reaction to what we've seen from Jack Caglione. Whatever your opinion was 3 days ago should, to me, be the same opinion now. It's way too small of a sample size. But what have you seen with him? Gets his first hit. He's 1 for 13 out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially we saw a good amount of aggressiveness. I think that first game he was swinging at the first or second pitch and putting it in play during his at-bats. And then in game 2 yesterday, we saw a little bit deeper counts and unfortunately some strikeouts came with that, and those strikeouts are going to be there. I think offensively what you saw is what Bobby Witt Jr. talked about. You see a big league presence in the box, and I think it's pretty obvious that other teams are thinking that too based on how he's getting pitched. I mean, we saw 3 different times that the Cardinals made a pitching change almost purely because Jack Caglione was coming to the plate. John King came in twice specifically to face Cags, and then once came in to face Vinny Salvi and Cags. And so, there's a level of respect that exists with Jack Caglione already with the way that teams are pitching him, and not just making a pitching change, but also the types of pitches that he's seeing and the sequences that he's seeing, I think, early on. And so I think he's going to be just fine. I think that there's, some early season variants, some early batted ball variants. I mean, there's only 1 batted ball that's been in the air, and that was his first one. So you'd like to see a little bit more of that loft, but you could say that for any player. And then I think defensively, in right field, he looked just fine out there. There was no indication that he was overmatched in right field. And I think, to be quite honest, if you hadn't told me that he'd only played 12 games in the minors in right field, if we had no idea what his level of experience was in the outfield, I think you would have watched the games and you would have said, oh, yeah, all right, I guess you can play right field. So I think, it's all good signs and all good things for Jack his first 3 games.
Do you think we're going to continue to see here for a bit, though, the late game defensive switch, as we saw it a couple times there where he, 8th or 9th inning, I think they pulled him for a defensive replacement. Is that something that you've heard that's going to continue for much of this year? Is that just the first couple week thing?
I don't know how long that'll continue, but I didn't find that to be particularly surprising.
Yeah.
I also think it makes a lot of sense. You have a guy that, yes, we do know his level of experience in the outfield, and it's not all that much. And when you have a late lead that you're trying to protect, you want your best defense out there. Right now, the Royals' best outfield defense is Waters, Isbell, and Rave left to right in the outfield. And if that means that Jack Caglione has to come out of the game so that John Rave can be in there defensively, if Rave hasn't already started the game, I think that makes a lot of sense. And of course, it comes back to bite a little bit when, the game winds up tied and you go to extras and, Jack Caglione's position come up. But I mean, personally, I have a lot of belief in John Rave too. I'd like to see more of John Rave, to be quite honest. So I think, yes, we'll see that defensive replacement. And I think it's important to keep in mind that you see that with, superstar players across baseball all the time. That's why there are defensive replacement type players that exist on the bench so that they can go in and be, a defensive upgrade in the late innings. We've seen that, for all time in baseball. So I don't think that's all that surprising. I don't think it's something really to get bent out of shape about either.
I think it's funny nobody even mentioned Vinny got pitch ran for. So if the game had gone extras, that would have happened just the same. Yeah.
And are we going to be upset that somebody gets pinch run for when, you're trying to score a run in a situation where you need a little bit more speed? Look, I'm not taking anything away from Vinny's foot speed. I know he's never been caught stealing a base, but in certain situations, you want somebody that's a little bit faster, and that's okay.
He told me he wanted 2 this year. We'll see if he actually gets there, Jake. I got 2 last questions for you. One, how many players total do you think in baseball can make the catch that Bobby Witt Jr. made yesterday? And do they tell you where they're going to put the golden bobblehead amongst all the other ones next Saturday?
I have no inside information on the golden bobblehead. I did see them up in the front office, and they are really cool. They're shiny, they're golden.
Would they have noticed?
No. I think they would have noticed. They have them pretty well locked down, and they certainly have counted how many exist. So I think they would have noticed a one missing. I don't know where they are. As for who can make the plays that Bobby Witt Jr. made this past week, the cop-out answer is one. To be honest, because I've never seen anybody else do what Bobby Witt Jr. did. As you're asking that question, I'm thinking, maybe if we had seen Fernando Tatis Jr. stick at shortstop, maybe he could make some of those plays like that. I feel like we saw him make some of those plays like that when he was playing shortstop early on in his career, but obviously he's a right fielder now, not a shortstop. So as far as players that can do what Bobby Witt Jr. is doing, I think it's one. He is a one-of-one player, and we have known this now for a few years. We are running out of words to describe the things that he does. And frankly, the fact that he does the things that he does as often as they happen somehow makes it seem like it's normal. And I think it's important to remember that it's not. This is not normal. This is not something that is routine. This is something that is unfathomable and extraordinary and special, and it's ours to enjoy. And that's really, really cool.
All right, Jake, appreciate it, man. Enjoy Chicago. We'll check in next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
There you go. That's Jake Eisenberg. You'll hear him throughout the weekend on 96.5 The Fan as the Royals take on the White Sox. And yeah, they announced, the Royals did announce, for those that don't know what you were referencing, the golden bobbleheads. Yeah, the video just came out. Next Saturday, the 14th, the Royals will have
a Bobby record-breaking bobblehead. There's for the first 20,000 fans or whatever.
7 of them will be gold, and Bobby autographed the cap, I think it is.
Yeah.
So 7 of them randomly throughout there. So just a heads up, you want to be looking for those. That'll be a pretty darn cool item to get if you luck out. 7 of 20-something thousand.
It feels like I should try to go get one just as an effort to not that I need the gold.
They're all going to, the boxes all are
for,
going to look the same, and then you're just going to hope you're going to slow. It's going to be like a darn card reveal here. You're trying,
you have a 0.00035% chance.
Perfect. Now, the difference with this, though, like any would be, unlike the lottery where there's all these different combinations, you could increase your odds by, there's people that do have multiple tickets, and they will have multiple bobbleheads.
Or if you're a group growing with 20 people, hypothetically, you as a group have a much better chance of securing one of those bobbleheads outside.
Let us know if you guys get one. That's next Saturday. Let us know if one of you are lucky enough
to get the golden Bobby Witt Jr. autograph. It'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be a cool item to have.
I don't keep a lot of sports memorabilia. That feels like one that would end up on a shelf. I know I'd probably be bullied into putting in the garage sale eventually, which I'm always open to be clear. Bullying works, is what I've learned in adulthood. Not on everybody, but it does work on me.
That doesn't mean that's good.
No.
Coming up in 12 minutes, we'll talk more about Noah Cameron. You asked Jake about Cameron there. We're going to get into that a little bit more in a bit. But the news yesterday afternoon, while the Royals were playing some day baseball, bigger picture in the sports world at the time, people were talking about Aaron Rodgers
being key there.
What's that?
I said sports world being key there.
Yes,
in the news department.
yes, true, very true. It was an interesting day to be on social media yesterday. Sports wise, Aaron Rodgers, also at the same time, announced that he will sign today with the Pittsburgh Steelers and show up for minicamp. All the talk for months, everybody assumed this was going to be the destination, but would he make a decision or not? How long would he drag this out? Well, the answer was up until June 6th. He will be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, unless he still wakes up in July all of a sudden, decides not to play football. But and I think, and with him, you never know. You really do never know. But
I think he's now likely
because he signed a contract.
Football, yes.
Because he signed a contract to play with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that part is over. Look, I think the Steelers with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard before were going to be an 8-win football team, maybe a 9-win football team because Mike Tomlin thrives at being mediocre record-wise. With Aaron Rodgers, best case scenario, 10 or 11 wins, which is kind of where they've been. Like the Steelers, you guys tell me if you disagree. They have not vaulted themselves into the conversation with the Chiefs and Bills and Ravens. Nope.
No.
Gosh, they are a team that is going to be capable of winning some big games during the year. They're going to make the AFC North more challenging. They are, best case, a 10 or 11 win football team, which means potentially a one and done again playoff. Maybe you sneak out one playoff win. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers is going to elevate them in that organization to getting to where they haven't been in a while since Big Ben.
I don't. This does not move the needle for me. But I don't know. When his numbers were statistically close-ish to Mahomes last year, because a lot of people want to point that out, his team was behind all the time. I do not think Aaron Rodgers, unlike maybe Russell Wilson or some of these other guys, I don't think he just cooked. I think he's still a pretty good football player.
No, they're going to get better quarterback play than last year. Yes. I just don't think it.
I actually think the roster's worse, though. I think the defense is worse. The trading out Metcalf for Pickens doesn't move the needle for me. What is their offense? It's Metcalf and Calvin Austin and Freiermuth.
Yeah, I mean, I think Metcalf's an upgrade but yeah.
So, I'm not exactly blown away with what they're doing offensively. They're in a very difficult division. They'll make it harder on teams like the Ravens and Cincinnati and others inside of there. So like that, for that part, it makes sense. Do I think, like if you made me right now list the teams I think have a real chance to win a Super Bowl today, they're not on it. They on it for you?
No, I just said that's what I'm saying. I'm totally with you. I mean, look, in their division, they have the third best odds to win it. They're 5-1. The Bengals are 2-1, and the Ravens are -130. In the AFC, just to win the conference, the Pittsburgh Steelers still are a ways down the board to do that. And for whatever reason, FanDuel doesn't even list them. I don't know why that's the case. Oh, there we go. Sorry, 21-1.
Do you think he'll have a better debut than it went for the Jets? You remember how the Jets debut
well, yeah,
went?
He's not going to.
You would hope so.
Well, I don't think he's going to run out of Heinz Field or Acrisure or whatever stadium with a flag and tear his AC or Achilles right away. If that's
I
what you
refuse
mean.
to call it by its new name.
Yeah, it's Heinz Field. It's Heinz Field.
I think you could make an argument that
The Steelers are playing the Jets, though, week 1, which is an incredible noon
They
slate
said they
game.
would have made it prime time
But it's
if
at
they knew
noon.
for sure.
And the Chiefs would have already played a couple days earlier, so you can lock into that one if you want to have some fun drama. Justin Fields versus Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know. Should I care yet that like, is that a rivalry? He
Oh,
played
it's still
one
fun.
season for him.
It's still fun. He's playing his old team.
I do think it's kind of funny, and this I feel like is under-discussed as a part of this. The Steelers' first choice was not Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers' first choice for quarterback this year was Justin Fields, the guy you just mentioned who's going to be starting for the Jets. So, like, while this is an upgrade, they were still trying to keep Justin Fields first.
Yeah, it's a 1 or 2 win. It's a 1 or 2 win upgrade, max. And it might even just be like
And it
what
might
they
only
were.
be against Drew's Bengals, you know? The Steelers always get them. Also, the Browns actually get you worse. Can you explain to me why the Browns are always beating Cincinnati? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's because Myles Garrett terrorizes the offensive line.
Do the Bengals have the Steelers in the first 4 weeks? Because now I'm just starting to think they're going to start horrible
Typically,
again.
they don't play them in the first. Normally, they save the Ravens and the Steelers for the back half of the season or the latter 10 weeks.
That's good scheduling. You know, you got to keep
You
them
can
more
make an
interesting
argument
games
in a
late.
way that the Steelers aren't contenders because of Aaron Rodgers. Like there's no upgrade at all. Like the last 2 full seasons.
Oh, it's definitely an upgrade over Russell Wilson.
I'm just saying the last 2 seasons, like he doesn't make them any more of a contender than they already were, in my opinion.
I think there's
because if you look at the last 2 seasons, he's only thrown double-digit interceptions which was a stretch that he didn't have for a very long time. He had the worst rating of his career last year.
I know, but he is only. I guess
I
now
did
3 years removed. 3 years removed from a 70% completion, 4,100 yard, 37 touchdown, 4 interceptions.
I just don't think he moves
5 years from 48 touchdowns and 5 picks.
I don't think he moves the needle at all for them. Like they're the same team with Aaron Rodgers as they were with Russell Wilson, and it's just they're playing the game that the Colts played a few years ago when they did Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan in back-to-back seasons. That's what the Steelers are trying to do. They're just trying to salvage whatever they can, but they're not going to be able to with Aaron Rodgers. It's just not going to happen.
I'm no Aaron Rodgers defender, but I think lumping him in as he's the same as Russell Wilson is insulting.
I don't think
Russell
he makes
Wilson started all season and finished with 2,400 yards.
He didn't start all season, though.
Oh, he did.
Remember, it was Justin Fields. That was the whole thing, is why were they pull? That was the whole debate the first month or so.
2,400 yards and 16 touchdowns. I don't know if I mean.
No, Aaron Rodgers
I like Aaron
better.
Rodgers more than most people do, but I just don't think he doesn't make them more of a contender in my book.
Agreed.
At all.
Agreed.
Even though he's a better quarterback.
Correct. Yeah, he is better than what they had last year, but he's not the value that he brings is not enough to swing it to where suddenly you're like, oh no, look out, here come the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
And I was trying to just check where the pulse was in Pittsburgh a little bit earlier this morning, and it seems kind of split. There's a huge chunk of Steelers fans that are upset that they signed Rodgers because they believe that they need to kind of have the whole teardown thing that we've talked about, right? Or they want to see what Will Howard is capable of being, right? And I don't know what it would be, but Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins was going to start week 1 for this team. They were either going to whiff on Aaron Rodgers and he was going to stay, retire or whatever, or they were going to go try to get Kirk Cousins. Now that's the other angle. We can get into this later on when we talk about it again. Now what happens with Kirk Cousins? Because this landing spot's gone. Now
he hopes somebody gets hurt.
That's all he has, right? Because I'm still not
deadline?
convinced though. Week 1, you mean before the season? Because are you guys convinced that Kirk Cousins is going to be the backup for the first month or 2 of the season? I don't think he is going to be.
I think he might be.
I don't think he's going to be in Atlanta for week 1.
They're
I still
poorly
don't.
run organization, and I think they're going to
be.
do what poorly run organizations do: make things awkward. Make everyone uncomfortable.
Some of the Steelers are trying to put themselves in a situation to draft Arch Manning.
No, they're not.
Not by
trading. Mason Rudolph.
They made it worse.
Yeah, no. If they wanted that, yeah, Will Howard and Mason Rudolph would be their quarterbacks all year. Going to get Aaron Rodgers does not mean you think you're going to be a 6 or 7 win football team.
Do we know why they're doing this? Because, like I said, the Colts did the same thing, but the Colts were never going to win with Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan. It was never going to happen. The Steelers are never going to win with Aaron Rodgers. They were never going to win with Russell Wilson. Why are they? They're saying in quarterback purgatory, basically, is what they're doing.
Yeah, they're going to be a mediocre team again.
I would just retire, man. Before I went to go win 9 games in Pittsburgh, I just quit. Like, it already ended kind of weird. You left the franchise you spent your entire career with. You had 2
back in the playoffs.
Pretty miserable years with the Jets, and now, we'll get Aaron Rodgers versus either Buffalo, whoever doesn't get the 1 seed. Buffalo or Kansas City is the 2-7
Rodgers
matchup.
and Mahomes for the first time.
It'll be,
What a sorry matchup at this point in their career, though.
The 2-7 matchup that's never been won by the 7 seed yet. Isn't that correct? They're like over since we added the extra playoff team.
Rodgers Mahomes 5 years ago was the matchup we wanted 3 years ago, and because of injuries and COVID and other things, we haven't been able to get it. And now, if they play each other in a postseason game, let's say, it's not going to have the same feeling. I don't think, at least.
Oh, I agree.
Up next, though, let's get back to the Royals for a little bit. Noah Cameron, where he stacks up in the American League at this point in time, and we will talk about the NBA Finals. What a finish it was for the Indiana Pacers. Drew is wearing his Pacers gear. We'll let him gloat for a little bit. Next.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
I know how I'll be spending part of my weekend. That's out on the deck. You can do the same thing a lot of people in Kansas City do. That's let all-weather decks build their dream deck. They're Kansas City's most respected deck builder and a 24-time winner of Angie's List Super Service Award. You can see pictures of their work, the quality of their work, up at allweatherdecks.net, and they handle everything: wood decks, composite, outdoor kitchens and lighting, patios, pergolas. They will bring that dream area to the outside area of your house that you've been looking to do for years. It's time to stop thinking about doing it and do it. Give them a call, 913-206-1974, and schedule your free estimate. That's 913-206-1974 or at allweatherdecks.net.
At just 19 months old, Melina was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. She courageously endured chemotherapy, radiation, blood transfusions, and physical therapy. Today, Melina is a thriving, vibrant 11-year-old. With your support, Hy-Vee and Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation are funding research and programs to help children like Melina. Please donate to Midwest Lemonade Days at any Kansas City area Hy-Vee now through June 7th. Together, we can fight childhood cancer one cup at a time.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-827-4006. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-827-4006. 800-827-4006. 800-827-4006.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we are improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, Call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to rexbuyskc.com. That's rexbuyskc.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Men, here's the truth. In the bedroom, good enough isn't really good enough, is it? This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if your erectile dysfunction is making intimacy less enjoyable for you and your partner, give us a call today. Because whether your ED only happens sometimes or all the time, it's time to stop good enough and time to start really good. At Heartland Men's Health, we're experts in treating ED. Whether it's only mild or moderate, or even if it's severe, our treatments have success rates of well over 90%. And because we have a variety of treatments and can even combine protocols, we can likely get you performing like you haven't in a long time. You could even last up to an hour or more and make sex great again for you and your partner. So make an appointment and be done with good enough. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices to serve you.
Did storms hit your area? Looking for answers on the impact it made to your roof? Then it's time to schedule a zero-pressure, in-depth inspection with Century Roofing's trusted roofing experts. We will determine if enough damage exists to warrant filing a claim. See for yourself why Century Roofing has been voted Best of Johnson County for the 3rd year in a row. Trust the pillars of strength for 35 years. KC-based and female-owned. CenturyRoofingKC.com.
Century Roofing. Trust the pillars of strength.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/joy, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs, with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
David is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years, and I'm from Flowery Branch, Georgia. When I first started taking Prevagen, I noticed stuff just seemed to come together and fit like a jigsaw puzzle. When I have customers come in, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription, and I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I know it works. I wouldn't recommend something like Prevagen if I didn't think it was worth it because it works so good for me. And I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really works so good. Makes my day.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
The Drive with CDOT and Rob are live from Kauffman Stadium on Tuesday for the Kansas City debut of Jack Caglione with Burns on Deck show starting at 5:30. Your home for Royals baseball is 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2, Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
$11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We'll get to the trash of the day in about 15 minutes or so.
You think it's another Drew beat?
This one sounds like a Drew beat. It sounds like a Drew beat. These are now we have the ear to notice when it's a Drew production. These are his custom-made beats for the show now.
What are they called? Dreets? What do we need some sort of name for them, you know? Doesn't sound quite right. I'm
Dreets. Drewbies, because he goes by Drew B. Nix.
Drew B. Nix.
To mix from D. Nix.
D. Nix?
A mix.
Is that what you? By the way, would that have been your? Like your
D.
DJ
Nix?
name?
That wouldn't have worked.
If you were a DJ at Mosaic on a Saturday night here in Kansas City, would D. Nix be your name?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Give us suggestions. 913-586-7965.
What would my producer tag be? You know,
What would Drew's DJ
D
name be?
Nix. We'll get to Drew Nixon's Pacers.
Even then, he's supporting
Here
the
in 8
Knicks, not the
minutes.
Pacers.
That's
We'll get to your Pacers in just a bit. But you asked Jake Eisenberg about Noah Cameron because he continues to do something that nobody could have possibly imagined. He has been flat out sensational. I mean, as close to perfect as you can really be your first 5 starts as a big leaguer. And, you know, we were taking a look at just even where the Rookie of the Year odds are, and it just tells you how difficult it is as a pitcher because so much of the talk has been about Cags, and, you know, he's now down to 11-1 to be Rookie of the Year. Jacob Wilson of the A's continues to play very well, hit a home run yesterday, I think. He's now minus 420. Noah Cameron was 50-1, then yesterday dropped to 35-1, and now today I think he's like 28-1 to be Rookie of the Year. And when you're Noah Cameron and you have 5 stars with a .85 ERA, people are going to start talking about you. And we know from their plan and pitching-wise, they have decided this weekend to skip a Chris Bubic start. And Lorenzen's going to still stay in the rotation and pitch against the White Sox. So they're kind of dragging this thing out another bit. And they know they need to be careful with the innings for Chris Bubic. And this is one way to keep everybody on the big league club for now.
They're trying to hold off the innings for a little bit. We can ask JJ about it in a couple of weeks and see what they're doing with Bubic.
Yeah.
We had mentioned before, where are they going to save these innings? And you and I mentioned maybe skipping some starts for him. So I don't hate the plan from the Royals in that end, even though it's pretty clear at this point, and we've made it clear that Noah Cameron, when it comes down to who starts, Noah Cameron or Michael Lorenzen, the answer is Noah Cameron.
It will have to be.
The real question is, if they skip this start and they get past some of these June off days, do they then go 6-man rotation, something they've at least internally kicked around as a possibility? Here's the truth with Noah Cameron. He deserves, and I'm not saying he wins it or should be the favorite, he deserves real Rookie of the Year buzz. And he's not getting it yet. 25-1 is not real Rookie of the Year buzz. He has been sensational, but because he's not the flamethrower Paul Skeens
strikeouts aren't there. Yeah.
If his name was Paul Skeens and this is the start that had happened, the buzz on him would be he'd be 5-1, 4-1. But because he's Noah Cameron and he wears sports goggles, people somehow are like holding the man back. As a fellow glasses wearer, I gotta say this is prejudice, and I can't believe it.
Yeah,
but I'm serious. He really does deserve Rookie of the
that.
Year buzz. And if he has 1 or 2 more starts like this in a row that have gone exactly like the other ones, which is pretty much 6 1/3 and 1 or 0 earned runs, then yes, he deserves to fly up the rankings and get talked about in that discussion.
Yeah, no, I think the points you made, I don't disagree with much of what you said. I mean, I think it's very clear we know awards are narrative driven, and it's basically who's grabbing a lot of headlines, who's getting media attention, name recognition, all that factors in, and he has come out of nowhere. I mean, truly, he has come out of nowhere outside of Kansas City, and even in Kansas City, there's still a lot of people probably that don't know the name. Everybody knows Cags, but there's probably still even people in Kansas City aren't familiar with the name Noah Cameron. So he's got the marketing challenge to it. I also think we looked it up.
He has to create a name for himself in addition to perform.
And as a pitcher, it's a little more challenging in a way. We looked, there's been, since 2020, there's been 3 pitchers between AL and NL, so obviously 10 times. Basically, we're talking about out of the 10 awards possible, 3 of the 10 have been pitchers, the rest have been position players. Look, if he keeps pitching like this, he will slowly creep further and further up. His next start, if he does this again, he'll go from 28-1 to 12 or 15-1, and he'll have the same odds as Jack Caglione. I still think Jacob Wilson is heavily in the driver's seat to win this award.
Yeah,
he's played far more than both Noah Cameron and Jack Caglione, and it's not just that. Jacob Wilson continues to rake. He just had a home run yesterday, I believe, as I said, for the A's, and he's now minus 420. In fact, since the call-up news on Monday, Jacob Wilson's actually, odds-wise, increased his lead. So Noah Cameron's going to eventually get to a point where he has better odds than Jason Dominguez, who at this point is like 26 or 27 years. This guy has been mentioned as a Yankees prospect for 10 years, it feels like. So he will have better odds than him at some point, but it's a massive uphill climb. Never going to hate on a little sprinkle if you want to put $5 or $10 on it at 35-1, or if you had it 50-1 a couple days ago. But I mean, it's a long shot.
Just a couple of days ago.
Here's the thing:
the name. This is the part I have. This is what I really just dislike about narrative awards. Like Jack Caglione has 13 at bats, and Jack Caglione, I'm not worried about him in any conceivable way. Whatever. He's had 13 at bats. He has a hit, and it's fine. Yeah. Noah Cameron has started 5 times, and he's Fernando Valenzuela. I mean, he's pitching like. I mean, no, he's not doing that. But he is one of only 2 pitchers in modern baseball to start their career this way. But because Noah Cameron's not a name, He wasn't a name coming up through the system. He's not a name.
He wasn't
He's
even
still
on the
not a
board.
name.
He wasn't even
No,
on
he
the board to bet on 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and then he got to 75 to 1, 50 to 1, 35 to 1, and now, as we said, he sits at 28 to 1. So it's a process. If he keeps pitching like this, don't worry. He will get his love. He will get his attention on the national level. But unfortunately, for him, his margin of error is so much slimmer from an award perspective, from a national narrative perspective. The Royals aren't asking him to pitch for a .85 ERA. That's not. He doesn't need to keep doing that. He's obviously far exceeded expectations. But if you want him to be in the awards conversation, unfortunately, yeah, Cody, he's actually going to have to keep pitching like this.
Oh, I know. Here's some of the DJ suggestions before we talk some NBA. Over on Twitch for the win said 96.5 The Beat. They want that. There was DJ Fantastic from Lance.
Well, if you know, you know on that one.
Somebody texted me Drippy Drew, and I...
Donkey Drew. Right. They said it's another name for Burrow, maybe.
Someone says Beats by Drew, but like Dre, but with a space W. So Beats by Dre.
Sued by Dre.
Drew.
If he even attempts that way. D-Nix Mix. There's lots of choices over here.
Someone's D's Knicks.
DJ Shanks, they want you to go with the golf angle.
Shanks.
Not a compliment to your golf game, but
no, of course
at least
not.
a possibility.
Yeah, there's been some good suggestions for you, Drew.
Unfortunately for you, Gold, you and I, our names would be way easier to create a DJ name.
Yeah, because someone said DJ.
Tap and Gold, we'd have no trouble coming up with DJ names.
Yeah, someone said you could go by DJ Shaft, Drew, based on your talk about that.
You would need a custom shaft.
You could go by that. That'd get people's attention.
DJ Balls with a Z.
Oh, all right.
Well, because of the decorating the... it's got to have a Z, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
You will not decorate my balls.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of choices, man. Keep them coming. We like suggestions. 913-586-7965. From the 913, the fact the Royals have a legit Rookie of the Year candidate, Cy Young and MVP candidate on the same team is insane. It also does speak to like the broader issue currently that should frustrate Royals fans. Not the nitpicky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They should have a better record. Right now, the Royals should be a better team. They have the guy who is currently second in odds for the MVP, second in odds for American League Rookie of the Year. They have currently a Cy Young candidate who is very legitimate in Chris Bubich. They have the AL leader in saves. I'm like, what the hell is the problem here exactly? And they got a winning record.
And that's where the offense is frustrating. Yeah,
they didn't hit for a while.
And hopefully this series against the Cardinals carries over to Chicago. We'll find that out, obviously, tonight when they play the White Sox. All right, we've put it up off long enough. Drew, I'm sure, wanted us to lead the show with it today. His Indiana Pacers.
That's right.
Stole game one, and they've done this now like 5 times in the postseason.
Final seconds, no fouls to give. Halliburton looking. Halliburton driving, pulls off, jump shot. It's good! It's good! With 0.3 of a second remaining. Timeout, OKC. Tyrese Halliburton does it again.
Of course, ABC, ESPN, Mike Breen on the
I don't know how that wasn't a bang called a bang.
Yeah, that's true.
It just felt...
Unbelievable. Halliburton has done this like 4 times in the postseason. He didn't even his stat line wasn't even all that impressive. He did in the fourth quarter.
He's 5 for 5 this postseason in shots.
Yeah,
game-winning shots.
This Pacers team continues to do. They made history again. This was from the AP late last night. The Pacers trailed by 9 with 2:52 to play. In the play-by-play era, which is the start of 1997, so that's since 97, teams were 0-121. 0-121 in NBA Finals when you trail by 7 or more points in the final 3 minutes of fourth quarter or OT. And yet again, the Pacers bucking the trend, and they get it done. They steal that one against the Thunder, and things get a little more interesting in this series.
It was like deja vu at that Knicks game in Game 1. They were down, stormed back, and won the game. They're 5-3 guys this year when they're down by 15 in the playoffs. 5-3. They have a winning record. When they go down by 15.
You need to get... Where's your Halliburton jersey at this point in time? You're
right.
Jersey,
at least.
You got the Pacers shorts, but I feel like you have to have Halliburton gear now.
Correct, yeah. There's going to be a Hallie-specific shirt. By the way, so Cody, you mentioned it. He has played almost 200 games less than Kobe Bryant has in the than Kobe did in the playoffs. He has more clutch shots in the final 5 seconds.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Kobe historically has some pretty bad numbers in those regard, but like still,
He's third all time, tied with Reggie, and then 3 behind LeBron. And LeBron has 280 career playoff games. Hallie's done 5 in 32 playoff games.
Yeah, he's. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
He is changing his entire narrative that people have about him. Especially if the Pacers were to shock everybody and win this series, he gets himself a ring too,
and a freaking statue.
Yeah,
mind you.
in Indiana for sure. Now this is what the call sounded like worldwide. This was from Korea. Listen to the call of the Halliburton game winner.
없이 가요. 자, 언더독인 인디애나가 익숙한 상황을 맞이한다. 할리버튼 버텨내는데요.
Wow!
I love it. I love it.
That's a great call. Can I say, Drew, I am happy for you since you've adopted the Pacers here recently and they're winning.
Okay.
I hope that they do win for you. I was even more joyful, and this can be confirmed via text of the three of us. It made me so happy last night that betting bro,
cash out bro,
out bro.
Yeah, we're calling him cash out bro.
When it made me little hype up video talking about we're going all the way last night. After Halliburton hit the game-winning shot, I saw his cash out is down to 100 and what did I see?
7,000.
107,000. He had
dropped.
123 yesterday. He dropped 16K. Yeah. What happens if the Oilers don't win tonight?
No, he has to take it now.
If you were listening yesterday, you know the story. But real quick, 5-leg parlay. This kid had the Dodgers, had the Liberty, had the Eagles. They all already cashed their ticket or already took care of part of the parlay. So he needs the Thunder to win the series, win the finals, and he needs the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup. And you guys know the Pacers, of course, are up 1-0. The Oilers are up 1-0 in theirs. And his cash-out offer dropped $16,000. And yesterday we were discussing this, like, take the damn cash out. You already cost yourself $16,000. What happens tonight if the Florida Panthers beat the Oilers, which is a real chance? That offer goes below 100,000, right? That goes down to 95.
Oh, especially because that series
90.
is supposed to be tighter. It's tighter. The reason why it didn't drop so much is probably because the Thunder are still favorite, I bet, in
They're
the series.
minus 300 to win the series still.
Yeah.
That's exactly why it hasn't dropped more. If the NHL one comes into risk, it will go below $100,000.
It'll drop a lot.
Look, he had 97,000 2 days ago. I'd have taken the cash out then. Fine. He got himself up to 123. My problem is the arrogance of it all. Gold, you remember the clip? You remember the clips we played yesterday? We're going all the way. I know I said I wanted 100. Never. He's just having too much fun with his boys.
F the 100K, he said.
F the 100K. That's why I was rooting against him, and I don't feel bad about it. I am actively rooting. I am a Panthers and Pacers fan the rest of the way. Please, until he cashes out, then I don't really have a dog in the fight.
I'm gonna have to get you a.
How long is he going to wait though?
Because
how long is he going to wait? At what point? Because now I'm convinced he's not going to cash out because he saw 123,000 and now 107 doesn't seem good enough. What happens when it goes to 98,000? Is he going to be smart enough to realize if he loses tonight? The Panthers beat the Oilers. Does he wait because he's convinced the Thunder are going to win game 2 and he's convinced it'll bump back up a little bit?
I think you're right.
Want this cash. If this cash out offer goes down to like 70 or 60,000, even though he's going to be furious because he missed out, he still would need to take that because then if you end up getting nothing out of this thing, how sickening. You'll never have another chance in your life.
$13 worth of risk out there.
You'll never have another chance in your life.
Somebody said, what does he win if he wins the whole bet? $270,000.
Yes.
But he's like 22 years old.
No, I'm not
You're trying
rooting
to tell me $123,000 wasn't life-changing money at
it's
early 20s?
Now, the only difference is you're actively rooting for him to lose it all. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yes, that's accurate.
I think this kid. Hopefully, last night was a little warning sign for him that hey, this thing can go south on you, buddy.
A little wake-up call.
But I'm not rooting for him to lose all of it because you want to talk about as great of a high as he's on right now. That kid is going to be down in the dumps if he ends up losing it all.
I would get.
I assume he'd cash out before he lost it.
You'd throw up. Yeah,
you'd
throw
get sick.
up.
I do. Real quick before we get to the trash of the day, there's a lot of times in sports where I think Chiefs fans sometimes you might not take a moment to really realize what you're witnessing. I don't know if you guys have felt that or anything like that. It feels that way with the Pacers where if you're just watching the games and everybody's reacting and it's nuts, but we might be watching the single greatest postseason run for a single player in NBA history in terms of what he's done. Because like you said, Hallie's made 3 basically game-winning type of shots, 4 of them actually, in the playoffs in no moment bigger than the one that he made last night. Like you're witnessing something that you may never see again in terms of them breaking like the 1 in 182 record, the 1 in 1,414 back from the series against the Bucks. Like it's This is some historical stuff that you're actually witnessing right now if you're watching these games.
Trash of the day.
All right, this one takes us back to Jefferson City. We mentioned yesterday things look to be heading in the right direction, though, with the stadium bill. It needs to pass out of the Missouri House, and then it would go to the governor's desk, and this would open up potentially 50% of funding for the Chiefs and or Royals to stay in Missouri with a new project. It would at least get Missouri a fighter's chance, in my opinion. So while this was all going on, we mentioned there were some senators that were just wasting everybody's time. And I had mentioned in the past that there's a lot of representatives in Jefferson City that, of course, are from the eastern side of the state. And the majority, I would say, in Jefferson City tend to be Cardinals fans, not Royals fans.
Yeah.
So this is a real bill that was introduced. I believe the bill got read even on the Senate floor at one point in time. Senate Bill 18. A senator introduced a bill that would officially designate, and this will never pass, but officially designate the Royals as Missouri's subpar professional baseball team. This is a real thing. Quote, the St. Louis Cardinals selected for and shall be known as the official professional baseball team of the state of Missouri. Any other professional baseball team that is presently in or may be located in the future, the state of Missouri shall be rightfully known and designated as a subpar professional baseball team. This is the joke, waste of time stuff that is happening in Jefferson City.
I already told you, you should
it's a real,
you should get fined for this.
It's a real thing. You know what? That's
you
right.
guys being paid by taxpayers to just introduce nonsense?
This bill is also why Missouri, you already lost a football team once. You lost the Rams. Clearly, you're fine with one or both teams leaving and just leaving you with the Cardinals and Blues. Like that, this is dumb. Your state losing a team. Take your fandom rivalry stuff aside, Cardinals versus Royals. If you're a senator in the state of Missouri, while you might represent, I don't know where this senator, if he represents St. Charles, St. Louis area, I don't know. Either way, like for your state, you clowning on one of the teams and potentially losing them is not good for your state. So it's just dumb. Like this is a real bill that was introduced, Senate Bill 18. You can look it up.
I guess here's the other question.
Like,
send this to any of the people who recently have tried to claim in St. Louis, we don't even care about the Royals. I haven't seen anybody from Kansas City sending a resolution to deem the Royals the only team that matters in the state. Also, what's your threat here? You got more World Series. You've done more winning. You've been the more successful franchise. Why do you need to deem them
unserious people is what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. And they already lost their football team. This is a great trash of the day because it's
it's complete trash. Yeah, it's complete trash.
It's an unnecessary shot. Also, to your point, would you prefer just like the least amount of professional sports teams available in your state as possible? You just want to be like Montana? You want to see how few professional sports teams you can have in one state?
Shout out to Montana.
I assume they don't have any of the four majors.
Shout out to Montana.
It's a pretty empty state, turns out, from a population density standpoint. But yeah, I just don't understand this notion of like, let's tear down the ones on the other side just to score some like quick political points.
What it's like. Yeah,
we got you.
Get a few likes on Twitter as a politician. Congratulations. Congrats.
I guess. But again, I genuinely think I should be allowed to call for impeachment, or I should be able to. I think the state should be allowed to fine you. I think you should like lose your salary for a month if you introduce anything that is a total waste of everyone's time. Like can't get more than, let's say, you got to get at least 20%, 30% of the vote for this thing. If you're just introducing stuff to introduce it, I should be allowed to like come after your job for it because it's a ridiculous waste of my time.
He's a state senator, District 2, which is part of St. Charles County, which is right outside, of course, right there in the St. Louis area. But what a joke.
Just bored?
Is it Nick Schroer? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Nick. I mean, yeah. Get some more vowels in your name, too. Earlier, preferably. Schroer. It just sounds like you got a mouth.
His name now? Goodness.
He's got like a mouthful of marbles. Schroer. Like, I mean, who can even pronounce this thing?
You're saying he needs to change his last name.
You've lost a football team twice already.
Yeah, that is the rich part about like trying to dunk on it. Like, we're the best baseball team. Okay, relax.
Someone says we should rename the segment to the St. Louis of the Day. That's also a good suggestion. Up next, we will get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour, the player with the most to prove, and we'll get back into the punt return situation and who could actually be returning kicks in 2025.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Underdog is one of the best places to make your entries during playoff basketball. You watched game 1 last night. You could have been scoring cash while they were scoring buckets, because Underdog is one of the leading places to make all your sports selections, and you can play on the Missouri side. Yeah, even if you're in trash St. Louis. On the Missouri side, Underdog being one of the fastest growing sports games apps that you can play in your state. Join the millions of fans who have already won billions making plays at Underdog and be next. And you can mix and match sports. You like some action tonight, you think, okay, maybe this is the night Cags gets us home, or you like Vinny to get on base a couple of times. You just choose higher or lower than your favorite player stats: points, assists, rebounds, RBI, home runs. Playing at Underdog is a layup. Download the Underdog app today. Sign up using promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock a special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Consult your play code 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down. Get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
It's almost Andy Reid. When I landed in KC, I started doing commercials, the whole playbook. That's how I teamed up with Renner Garage Store. For nearly 70 years, Renner has been serving KC with the latest styles, top brands like Deldon, Amar, and LiftMaster, and the trusted service of a family-owned team. Get your free estimate today, and if you're looking for work, Renner's hiring installers with paid training. RENNER forward and back.
RENNER, RENNER. Psst, hey you. Wouldn't a Diet Coke at 7 a.m. totally hit? You know you can get that from Wendy's for just $1, right? Even you, girl drinking a Fanta on the way to 8 a.m. Pilates class. Any soda you want, any size, just $1. So go get that breakfast soda, you morning menace. But maybe hurry, cause it's only during breakfast. Morning soda? Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours. Exclusions apply. Not valid in a combo. Prices may be higher in Hawaii.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit.
Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now, there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co., LLC. Used with permission.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the GPS directions first, before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
Getting the job done right the first time protects your home, time, and budget. This month, get $500 off a water softener and filtration combo. Schedule at AnthonyPHCE.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
That's right. It is time for the Chiefs Red Half Hour.
Brought to you by All Weather Decks, Kansas City's most respected deck builder at allweatherdecks.net.
Yeah, coming up in about a half hour as well, Nate Taylor. We'll be talking some Chiefs football. We'll also talk some Royals with Nate, too. We know he's a big Royals fan as well.
You think he's seen Cags yet, or is he waiting for Tuesday? You don't think he drove to St. Louis?
I don't know. He wasn't in St.
Chicago.
Louis.
He's got a newborn baby.
Yeah, but maybe he'll be out of the K next week. But I'm sure he's watched some of the games here in St. Louis, and obviously getting set for a series in Chicago against the White Sox. So yeah, Nate Taylor going to join us in about a half hour or so. Also, it's a Fan Club Friday, so on the 1 o'clock hour, Jay Binkley, our guy, will be in studio with us. We got a new beer to try from the folks over at Boulevard. Looking forward to that.
Based.
That's 2 weeks in a row. We've got something new to try, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I do like that.
Last week it was the Quittin' Time beer from Quick Trip. And
I also heard of a new one we got to try in a couple of weeks, specifically for our guy Drew.
Oh?
Yesterday
Is it a
or a week
Pacers
ago.
beer?
It's
Indiana
not a Pacers
beer?
beer. It's a thing I actually
it's
know.
called
He's
What
like,
the Halley, but it's a beer. Yeah.
The entire time
Let's go.
Drew's worked here, I'm confident he's been a fan of, unlike the Pacers stuff where I'm unsure. I know he's been a fan of this the entire time he's been a producer of this show. They have announced a hard Mountain Dew Code Red.
Oh, Drew. Drew, that is exactly what. For those that know, Drew has a 32+ ounce Mountain Dew Code Red every morning, it looks like.
I've got one right here.
Yeah. So we've got to try that, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's one of those things that's just it's not gonna ruin Code Red for me, but it's gonna.
I think you're gonna love it.
Gross.
Now it strikes me as one that you would have one and you wouldn't want to have a second because it's too
Well, and I want to get this
sugary or whatever, yeah.
Well, because like the mixed pack that they serve it in, I'm going to try to just get a 6 of the Code Red. It's a 4-pack of just regular Mountain Dew. They're all like hard seltzers.
All right.
Live Wire, which appears to be like an orange-based one. Baja Blast. And
yeah, we've all heard that one.
So we can have it. So you're saying between the three of us and whoever we have as a guest, we can try the hard Mountain Dew then.
They also have a watermelon one, I guess.
We'll have to do that at some point over the next couple of weeks or whenever it gets released. I don't know. You said it's coming out soon?
I think it's released now.
Kramer texted me yesterday and said, "Hey man, did you see the hard Code Red is out?"
We're gonna have to do this next week, maybe next Friday if everybody's here. I know
the
you're
website
before.
is
Oh,
typing
you
it
won't.
by
Cody
now.
won't be here next Friday, I don't think. Aren't you out of town, or is that the following week?
It's the 13th
That's the following week.
next Friday.
So we can do it next Friday. Okay, we can do it next
Friday.
Friday.
Then I head to Texas for
Dance Dad. 2
Dance
weeks.
Dad.
2 weeks of Dance Dad.
Really, my Dance Dad obligations are keeping Desmond entertained, which means
you told us the last time. Let's hope things go better for you. That's okay.
I got to try to get my hands on it. I think I need to try to maybe. I feel like as a reward for he's got to go spend 10 days or like a week and a half in Texas. We spent a lot of time in like a gym waiting for like a dance to occur. I feel like I want to try to get my hands on a Nintendo Switch 2, but I didn't I pre-ordered one, but I wasn't on the initial pre-order list.
I didn't know. Maybe
I should have
Maybe you wanted me to text you late at night, but I saw last night Nintendo Switch 2 was available at Target. It was like midnight, and they had online only. And I had it in my cart, and then I made a better financial decision and said, you know what? I don't need to spend $570 on this thing. So I didn't.
You should have bought it and gave it to me. I could have paid you for it.
I didn't know. But I knew you were on a list to get one, so I didn't know if
they have not given me permission to buy it yet.
If it was earlier in the day, I would have texted you like, hey, you can just hop on a Target. Well, anyway, long story short, by the time we woke up today, they're already out again at Target. So
if anyone's seen them, I've seen like maybe Costco's had a bunch of them, but I had to get stuff at Costco yesterday, and all they had was the Pro 2 controller, not the actual Nintendo Switch 2. Also, the other, it's like really, there's only like 5 games for it, so it's just like he'll be able to play all of his normal games in Mario Kart until I don't know, maybe you get him like the Donkey Kong game, but the games are so expensive. Oh, the games are so expensive.
Are they all $80?
70 or 80.
I think it's been misleading. Everybody's acting like every game is $90. Every game is not $90.
It's just the Mario Kart
it's just
World
that World one, which people are buying the bundle that includes the game anyway. But I don't know. I might this weekend. My nephews just got there, so I might. I don't know. I might at least go check it out. I
might break on some Mario Kart.
Pop over there and see what the fuss is all about when it comes to the Switch 2.
I love a good Mario Kart game. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the open world aspect of it, but
I love to fly or ride a UFO. I saw somebody was.
I did see that too. I think there's just a lot of extra elements in the game that didn't exist before. I loved Mario Kart 64. It's still one of my favorite games of all time. Specifically the 64 one. The Super Nintendo one stinks, but outside of that, they just did nothing but hits after that. So, if you guys see one around town today, hit me up on Twitter, at CodyBTab. Let me know where you've seen them.
Someone from the text line from the 913 says, Target had a bunch sitting on the shelf yesterday, waiting to get picked up.
Dang.
Really?
Does Walmart have them?
People are lined up. People are lined up at Best Buy and GameStop or whatever. 2 days ago or a day ago.
GameStop had a huge problem. There was like one GameStop that was putting the receipt on the box.
Yes,
they were stapling the receipt on the box, and it put a dent in every screen. It scratched the top.
Oh my god!
And now
that dude got fired, I bet.
Now GameStop's made it right. They've already worked on plans to get people. It was at one location. Here, in fairness to the one employee who obviously you shouldn't have stapled the top of the box, but
he just made an innocent mistake.
How did the staple penetrate the screen enough? Like you have a staple receipt. The box, I would presume there's some type of.
Down.
I assume there's something covering the screen and the switch when you open the box.
I think so too. Yeah.
And the staple went all the way. I mean, what is this guy doing?
Must be one of those old school ones, like a lever to staple.
From now on, whenever that guy uses or girl uses a stapler, they're just going to be scarred from now on. Whenever
GameStop had a funny tweet.
It's
I'll give them credit because they've made it right. They've taken care of the customers, but
so they don't have to feel bad about it.
But they sent out a humorous tweet. Let me get real quick, then we'll talk some Chiefs. I promise. But I was going to see the GameStop if I can pull the exact tweet they sent in regards to the problems.
I saw they had some on the shelves, but I briefly went looking yesterday and didn't get any luck.
We've addressed a unique case of staples damaging Switch 2 screens. Isolated to one store. Replacements been offered. Staplers have been confiscated.
For now on, where we are taping the receipts to the boxes.
Anyway, good luck to those of you that are trying to find Nintendo Switch 2s in the area. And maybe you got to get lucky like at midnight and check one of the websites, Target or something like people did last night. Anyway.
I'll keep my eyes peeled,
Yeah.
Try to help out my kid.
The folks over at Arrowhead Pride were going through maybe some of the players that have the most to prove this upcoming season and as we head into training camp here before we know it.
I always think that's kind of an interesting way to look at a team because like you and I both know that one guy that we've talked about on the show a lot who would be on that list is Felix Anudike-Uzomah. It's not meant to be like, oh, he's the only guy who has something to prove. He's not. There are certainly other guys who have something to prove on this team. And I thought, okay, let's have the little off-season exercise. Let's talk about the players who have the most to prove. The article was actually written by former 96.5, well, technically he was a 16 employee, Brandon Kiley. Here are the players that he had mentioned across the board. He mentioned Isaiah Pacheco, honorable mention, as the guy just off his board of the top 5 most to prove on there. I actually agree with that assessment. if he is to get any kind of contract extension from this team or get at least medium-sized running back contract from another, he's going to have to prove that he can stay healthy for an entire year and put up the kind of numbers he did just 2 days ago. Here are the 5 guys he mentioned that I want to see if we agree with it. They're Hollywood Brown, Jalen Watson, and these are in order. He ranks them this way. Charles Omenihu, Brian Cook, and number 1, Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
Yeah.
The interesting part about this is his is very much, I would say, heavy in the contract year will get you paid department. Charles Omenihu, Hollywood Brown, Isaiah Pacheco, Jalen Watson, all guys who are coming to the end of their contracts and need to actually earn something. I think that Kingsley would be in my top 5, no question, because he is likely to be a starter at left guard, and he's got to prove that he can actually do that job. Forget the left tackle stuff.
Yeah.
He needs to prove to me he deserves to be on the starting offensive line at all. That is, to me, is the biggest miss on this list.
So I'm with you. Kingsley would be obviously a player listed that has the most to prove. I agree with 2 of the names for sure, though, on the list from Arrowhead Pride, though, and that is, number 1, yeah, contract year sure is part of it, but for Hollywood Brown, prove that you can stay healthy. Can you be available, even if it's not all 18? Can you be available for 15? Can you be available for 14? Can you be that available
of the season
and put yourself in a position to showcase why everybody, got excited about you when you were signed? And why this offense, with the idea of having you and Worthy and Rice on the field at the same time, people were excited about. So I think Hollywood Brown would be very high on my list, not just because he could get himself a nice payday.
Just where his contract and
show that
career's going to go.
Show you can stay healthy. And then the other one, Charles Omenihu is very similar to that. It's not only a contract year, we know he thought he was worth more in the market. The market said, no, you're not. He has been so effective when he's on the field. It's not a question about, can Charles Omenihu be effective in this system? We've seen it. He stands out on this defense when he's on the field. But same thing. Can he stay healthy? He had the unfortunate ACL injury a couple years ago that cost him much of last year. And then we all know he had the personal issues off the field, some legal trouble prior to that resulted in, a 6-game suspension or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was 6.
Or 3, 6, whatever.
I think it was
but when
6.
he's on the field,
longer.
he's been dominant. So for him, it's, hey, don't have any issues and stay healthy as well. But I'm not worried about his performance. Hollywood Brown, it's stay healthy and also can you put together the numbers. I feel like with Omenihu, if he's on the field, I know the numbers are coming for Charles Omenihu because he's been that good when he's been out there.
In weird way, I don't feel like Omenihu has to prove anything to me. I think I kind of got a good sense of who he is when he plays.
Yep.
Proving you can stay on the field, I'm not saying that's not any kind of aspect in it. It certainly is a little bit of something, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like the key diagnosing factor I'm looking for. Hollywood Brown is more than can you be on the field at all? He's been a career injured guy, and he's never put up. He had a 1,000-yard season 4 or 5 years ago, and to this point, he has never really turned into that. Charles Omenihu at least has proven to me when he's on the field, he's a productive NFL player, and that's why at least I'm going to change it. I think Kingsley would be my number 1, and I think Brian Cook would actually be kind of high on my list. You don't want to do safeties because I think Jaden Hicks is breathing down his neck. So it's like he doesn't play corner the way Shamari Connor does. So Brian Cook's going to keep the safety job the entire year. He's going to have to do that. It's funny about Jalen Watson is I almost feel these guys are just lumped into one thing. Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, and Jalen Watson all have the same amount to prove to me. Can any of you guys be the 3? Because they just signed Christian Fulton, so I know I got a 2. Right. I got Trent McDuffie, so I got a 1. I don't really care how you.
Williams, we'll see.
And maybe it's him. Can any of you guys stave off Noel Williams long enough to actually hold on to the job? Last year before the season, it felt like they really, really, really wanted Najee to get the job. He got dinged up a little bit, lost it out, and then because Jalen Watson wasn't healthy enough for a while, they were on Joshua Williams for a little bit, who didn't do a very good job, so then they were back on Jalen Watson. Those guys just feel lumped in together to me. Not even like as an individual player with something to prove. Just, I'd like one of them to step up.
913-586-7965. Someone from the 816 mentioned, hey, what about Sky Moore? He should be on that list. I get what you're saying. My only pushback would be, unfortunately for him, and I think we just kind of know, right?
Last year was
the proof to me that you can still be potentially what people drafted you for, what the Chiefs drafted you for. I think he's at a point, guys, where he's just lucky to make a football team.
Yeah, prove to me what? I can make the 53?
I also don't think he's making the team. That's the other part.
What about Matt Ariza? He's got punter competition. Does he need to prove he can put it inside the 20?
Sure. We'll see if Cody, will you join him on his workout at training camp this go around if he's out there after practice?
Guy works hard, we saw him out there.
He definitely does.
I think there's levels to this.
Yeah, Sky's just at a point where most to prove. No, I don't put him on the list because He's not even in that. He's not even in that conversation of long-term consideration anymore. I truly don't think he's going to make the team. So,
would you? Because I think there's levels to the conversation, and I know that he's a good player. We know this, but in terms of pay, in terms of all these things, George Karlaftis, not that he has the most to prove, but I think in terms of, hey, you want a payday, you need to get to a certain sack. Like if he has 5.5 or 6.5 sacks, I don't know if you consider that most to prove, but in terms of getting an extension, getting the payday you think you're deserving of, you have to, show up with the goods again.
If it's that, though, I almost feel like I can make a stronger argument for Kelsey for this year. Not his career. He's got nothing to prove for his career.
I think Karlaftis has already shown that he's going to have a long NFL career and be an effective pass rusher. What you're saying is to take it to the next level, become a star, get the massive payday. That's not – I don't know if that belongs in this. I don't know if it belongs in this conversation. He's proven he's an NFL pass rusher and all that.
100%. A starter, yes.
His is more of the cliche, truly contract year, go out and get yourself paid, go out and have an unbelievable best year of your career type of thing. Karlaftis has already proven that he's an NFL edge rusher and one of the better ones in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, if we ranked him out 1 through 53, he's not 53. He's probably somewhere in the middle, 25, 26.
He's certainly not in the top 10.
He's not he's not Patrick Mahomes, who's 53, right? He's not Creed Humphrey, who might be 52. It's not like the guys who end up being in there. It's not that he has nothing to prove. It's just there's some guys who I think have to even prove they deserve their spot. Like Leo Chanel might be on the list, right? Prove that you deserve more playing time. You've certainly got plenty of it, but now that there's, you've got to earn even more time on the field this year and, prove that you're going to be one of those guys who gets a contract after.
What is this? I see, Drew, you were typing something in the rundown. You said you think Patrick Mahomes has the most to prove still this year. Is that right? To prove he's still better than Joe Burrow? I saw you type that one in. You snuck that one in on us.
I thought you guys were going to start like, oh, no, this guy over here. As soon as I said, I think there's levels to this, I thought you were going to be like, oh, no, here we go. But
no, I understand.
I was never going to mention the name Patrick Mahomes in this conversation.
On the
Correct.
list.
I agree with you.
If it's a 90-man roster, he's 90. Whatever the number of players you want to put it out to, he's last.
I agree.
He's right after him.
Creed Humphrey.
I was going to say Chris Jones, but yeah, that works.
Chris Jones, yeah.
Those are 51, 52, and 53.
And Butker's like 50 or 49,
correct. Yeah.
Most to prove.
That's pretty strong.
I actually like this one.
Trey Smith is probably 49.
I actually think this is a really good suggestion on the text line, in all seriousness. They said, what about Noah Gray in this convo? Is he just what he is?
To prove that he can be number one?
He was effective last year. He got a contract extension. He would be a fine number one in this league for most teams, right? What typically tight ends are. I think that the tough spot for Noah Gray is, and we were just talking yesterday about expectations change as sports fans based on what we've seen a player or an organization accomplish. And so because of how great Travis Kelce has been and is, and even in Chiefs history, you go back to Tony Gonzalez, Noah Gray could be a really fine tight end post Travis Kelce. But if he's not one of the best, people are going to not think he's any good because we're now used to seeing elite level tight end play twice in this franchise's history over the last 25 years. Two future one's already a Hall of Famer, but two Hall of Fame tight ends. One's going to be the greatest of all time. And so even if Noah Gray ended up being like the 10th best tight end in the league for a given season in 2 years, people are going to act like it's not, you know what I mean?
It's just hard.
That's what's tough for him now.
We've mentioned this.
I think he's an average tight end if he was a number one.
But every year, the average tight end in the league has 602 receiving yards.
Yeah.
Maybe. That might actually be generous, at least on that end. So if you get a 650-yard tight end, you're doing just about as well as almost anyone in the league. Sure, you want your Brock Bowers or your next Travis Kelce. And as an organization, the fact that the Chiefs have two of the 3-4 greatest tight ends of all time probably speaks for its own, at least on that end. But it's
well, and you're even able to argue now the fact that the way the Chiefs are constructing their roster, they don't need that star tight end because of the wide receiver room that they currently have with Worthy and Rice, and who knows how Royals is going to turn out, obviously with Hollywood too, but you save yourself having to overextend yourself money-wise at the tight end position if you just have Noah Gray, which is good enough.
I got to say, it's fairly obvious they're drafting Royals, in my opinion, to replace the Juju, Hollywood Brown absences after this year.
Seems like it.
It always felt like it was a one-year thing with Hollywood anyway. He ended up getting hurt, so there weren't a lot of other teams calling. So it ended up making sense trying to run back your plan, which they did. And it wasn't a good wide receiver draft class, which certainly probably added to the desire to bring him back. But yeah, there are a few different guys certainly on the list. We'd mentioned Worthy earlier. The fact that Dave Tobe's still mentioning him in the punt return game, I told you, man, if it's one-offs, I'm interested. I think who I'd like to see win that job is Jalen Royals. Like, that's who I'd like to see win it. Because right now, Nico Remigio, when you start thinking about the wide receivers, depending, where's he on this roster? We already know 5 of the wide receivers, don't we? I think Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Royals, who will be on the roster. Am I missing somebody?
Juju.
And
probably.
Juju. I'd be surprised if
we're
it's not
talking about
Juju.
we're talking about really one spot, the very back end of it, where you're Remigio, I guess Justin
Sky.
Ross, Sky, and I'm missing one other name. That's kind of it. And this Tyquan Thornton. And so
I
this
forgot
is,
that we even joked about that one day.
I won't say
and the
anything
reason
today
why you're
about
good, it's just we're talking about the last spot in the wide receiver room. So even if he has a good camp and makes the roster, how many snaps is the guy getting in a given week if he's even active on game day? That's all we're saying when when people get excited, like, oh, Tyquan Thornton looks good. Good for him. Great. Maybe he makes the roster. But if you're the 6th receiver, I mean, you're limited on how many opportunities you're going to get to help the team. That's why we don't need to act like, oh my gosh, look out, they got another secret weapon. The dude's going to maybe be active for 12 games.
This is kind of why I want Royals to win the punt return job, is that I like players, and they did this with Tyreek Hill in his rookie year. I'm not saying Jalen Rose Tyreek Hill. I'm just saying this is how they handle it. They did it with Sky Moore in his rookie year, even though he probably should not have been returning punts. It's a way of keeping a young player engaged when we don't have much for you in the offense. Jalen Royals is wide receiver, like he is receiving option behind 8 players on the roster, at least 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 5 wide receivers. So at best, he's 8. Like, and that's like a generous notion if there's not 2 running backs.
At least to start in week 1, I would say,
yeah. Look, things change, certainly.
Injuries,
and if you're a star,
he might be able to jump Juju by the time of it.
Yeah. There's a million things you can do in order to, like, so keep him engaged. Find ways to do it. He can be your new, and like, it's for the same reasons. Like, if he's speedy, he can be your end-around guy. I don't need Xavier Worthy doing anything but running routes. Like, and I know that it's small and occasional. If it's like one-off punt returns, I don't really care. Like, I like when they use him as like a weapon of like, well, they don't have as much tape on this guy. Good luck knowing his moves. That's fine. But like, I just don't want him being full-time punt returner. I don't feel like anyone else in the league really uses their wide receiver.
Worthy won't end up being the full-time punt returner, but I'm totally fine with him having opportunities back there as a punt returner. Based off of that, especially if Rice is available and Hollywood Brown is staying healthy. Now, if you get down to where you're already down Brown or you're down Rice, then it's a little bit different.
Yeah, then what we know, that's the good news on the Chiefs is Dave Tobe's talked about this before. They've had players who just like graduate. It'd be like, oh, Brian Cook's pretty much the full-time safety now. It's like, yeah, well, no more special teams for you, man. You got a full-time job to do on defense. So a lot of this, I just wonder if they're entertaining that. Does that mean that they think Xavier Worthy's not taking a step back, but not increasing his target share
if those
this
2 guys,
year, and instead his target share is going down because of Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice and the other guys who are coming back into the fold? I kind of feel like it's that cold. They just think like his target share is going to be down, so let's keep him engaged and let's give him a million jobs to do because we
utilize that skill set. Yeah, let's utilize the speed that he clearly has. Heading into year 2, he's not a rookie anymore. Although he joked, what was it last week, that the guys in the locker room still treating him like he's a rookie. At least at this
I feel like
point
until you play game 2, is it tough? Like, you haven't played a new season yet, so technically
until week 1 in Brazil, then he's still a rookie.
Yeah, I think that might be the
maybe
case.
Training camp. You graduate through training camp.
Can't believe the Chiefs' schedule is going to be all wackadoo again this year. Their first game of the year is on a Friday night in Brazil. Andy's got to hate it. There's no other.
Of course.
Did Andy talk the other day, Drew?
No, he never ended up talking, did he?
Okay.
I think that was the whole thing. We were waiting.
I do not believe he did, no.
Every once in a while, we get like, Andy Reid will speak today. We're like, okay. And then he didn't. I was like, oh, maybe he was busy.
I think next Thursday, maybe.
Okay.
I think next Thursday might be
You know what? Andy probably shouldn't have to talk until mandatory, I'll say. It wasn't mandatory. That was optional stuff last week, right? That was all voluntary.
I think that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, mandatory is what, the
OTAs.
17th through the 19th, I think? Something like that?
Good to Aaron Rodgers, to finally sign that contract to show up for the mandatory part of camps.
I mean,
yeah, good for Aaron.
He wouldn't be the first veteran quarterback to do it. The difference is he just talked about it for so long. Otherwise, we've seen quarterbacks wait until training camp to show up. It's just he, on a semi-weekly basis, was like waiting for people.
I just think even at 41, if you're going into a new offense and a new division and a new system, why wouldn't you want the most amount of reps you could get in that system in order to succeed?
That's because he's got DK. He just throws him the ball up in the
And
air.
in fairness,
and just,
he really hasn't missed much of anything
Just
yet.
go get it, man.
He really, what has he missed?
I don't know.
I know we've talked about, like,
Do you
it's
think they're
annoying they're
already
dragging it out, but because that it's just more the headlines for months. But in terms of football, what has he missed?
Haven't the Steelers been in rumors, too, to bring in another wide receiver, like 2 or 3?
Yeah, but I don't know where they get them.
Who?
The Steelers. I mean, I've seen names popped around for the Steelers.
The rumors
like,
they were
calling
trading
about-
for like Jonnu Smith or something that tied in from the Dolphins.
Okay.
I think they were linked to him. I don't know what are the wide receivers available on the market.
I saw something like in terms of trading, like
Okay.
giving up a late pick for, I don't know, like a Van Jefferson or somebody like that.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it a wide receiver two. That's a generous
Or 3,
usage of the word wide receiver.
Somebody
two.
else. Hey, on the Steelers roster, he might be wide receiver 2. Because it's DK and...
Put some respect on Calvin Austin III's name, you know?
I mean, it's DK and Calvin Austin at
I
this
don't even know
rate.
if that's the third guy. I don't know who finished. Freiermuth.
Because they waited to trade Pickens until after the draft was over with, which was a choice.
Yeah, I think they just knew that they were only going to get so much done.
Robert Woods also there.
Oh, okay.
That's a solid
Robert
option.
Woods, Scotty Miller, Roman Wilson, who was a rookie last year,
That's a bad wide receiver unit.
and a guy named Montana Craig Lemonius. Yeah.
Hang on a second, I'm going to have to see.
That is
where
an
did he go to school?
incredible name.
Montana?
Yeah, it's on their depth chart, way down the depth chart.
Hang on,
Montana Craig Lemonius.
There's not like the 6th after that or something? The 4th?
It has to be.
Montana Craig Lemonius.
Okay, so for some reason on his tape it says Montana Lemonius Craig, but you just said Montana Craig Lemonius.
Maybe it's Lemonius
I
Craig.
wonder,
Either
what,
way,
his, I wonder what his name is.
Yeah.
It looks like he went to Arizona.
Okay. All right, up next, we'll get to what's trending. Nate Taylor from The Athletic is going to join us in the studio. We'll talk some Chiefs football. We'll also mix in some Royals as we'll get Nate's perspective on Cags as well next.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Cole Reagans, and you're listening to Cody and Gold. Weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Everyone in Kansas City is familiar with severe weather this week. Obviously, the high winds, the tornado touchdowns. Maybe your roof was affected. Find out by getting a free inspection from Century Roofing. They inspected my roof maybe 6 months ago. I had a few little issues pop up. They're like, you don't need a roof replacement. Let's do these repairs and extend the life of your roof. Then they did a repair on my back screen porch roof. I trust them because everyone in Kansas City trusts them. 35 years, locally owned and operated in Kansas City, back to back to back. Winners of Best Roofing Company in Johnson County. That's the kind of things you get over at Century Roofing. So if you've seen some of the hail or the high winds or those things and you're not sure, or you see your neighbor getting a new roof, there's a decent chance that you do need a roof replacement, and that could be handled through insurance. Because of their 35 years of experience, they know how to help you file a claim, so their experts can confirm if enough damage exists in order to do so. Trust the pillars of strength and go with KC-owned, female-owned, and locally owned and operated Century Roofing. That's CenturyRoofingKC.com, and tell them that Cody sent you.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. So, I wanted to write a thank you note for every dollar Missouri Lottery players have given to Missouri and education, but that would be 8.4 billion notes. So to save a little time and a whole lot of paper, here's just one. Dear every single lottery player in Missouri, thank you for helping us give $8.4 billion to Missouri and education. Sorry, my trumpet's in the shop. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
At just 19 months old, Melina was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. She courageously endured chemotherapy, radiation, blood transfusions, and physical therapy. Today, Melina is a thriving, vibrant 11-year-old. With your support, Hy-Vee and Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation are funding research and programs to help children like Melina. Please donate to Midwest Lemonade Days at any Kansas City area Hy-Vee now through June 7th. Together, we can fight childhood cancer one cup at a time.
Call Aspen Lawn and Pest Control. Our iconic blue trucks and expert team get it right the first time. Award-winning full-service lawn care and pest control since 1985. Call today for a free estimate. Visit aspenlawn.com.
The DQ Sauced and Tossed Chicken Strip Baskets have more flavor than your taste buds know what to do with. We start with all white meat, breaded, seasoned, and fried to crunchy perfection. Next, we double down and toss them in honey barbecue or new buffalo sauce. Serve them up with DQ fries, Texas toast, and house-made Hidden Valley Ranch, and you've got flavor on flavor on flavor. Get the sauced and tossed chicken strip basket in honey barbecue or new buffalo right now at DQ. Happy tastes good. Participation may vary.
At QC Kinetics, we're all about keeping you in the game, helping you get lasting relief from joint pain. That's why we're excited to announce that QC Kinetics is now partnering with the National Pickleball League. So many of our satisfied patients are avid pickleball players, and they're thrilled with how we've helped them get back on the court. As lead sponsor of the National Pickleball League, we're committed to help pickleball fans of all ages with the latest, most advanced regenerative cell treatments. These treatments use your body's own healing power, revitalizing and restoring damaged joint tissue the natural way, with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. Whether you're a pickleball fanatic or enjoy golf or running or tennis, stay in the game with help from QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, proud to promote active, pain-free living as a lead sponsor of the National Pickleball League. Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
Fight the fungus! Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, there's a humongous fungus living among us. And if you can see it, brother, then it's too late. So come on down to your grass pad, man. He's got some fungus fighting friends that'll set you straight. Come on down to the grass pad. The grass pad's high on grass.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if